Okay. So there are some good things I observed today, and there are some issues I observed in my answers today. But it's okay. We'll discuss that. But before that, let's analyze the post-independence. History. This is day 5. Okay. Now, if you observe the syllabus, let me read the syllabus for you. So, syllabus says post-independence consolidation and reorganization within the country. It says syllabus post-independence consolidation and reorganization within the country. This is the syllabus topic mentioned in our GS1 syllabus. Now, if you observe the previous year question, if you analyze the previous year question, you will find that most of the questions are around this consolidation and reorganization. Most of the question, right? Because these two words are directly mentioned in the syllabus. So UPSC is taking directly questions around this, and this has been a major issue in India. The first question you have written, that is the integration. What were the challenges in the integration of princely state? That is related to consolidation, right? Directly related to consolidation. Sometimes they have asked like in broad sense, it was more specific related to the princely state, and that too they specified administrative and the socio-cultural issues. They can in general also they can ask. Sometimes we have to, if in general they ask, we need to talk also about the Goa from the Portuguese, also the Pondicherry from the who had the Pondicherry, French, right? So there also some issues were there, and we adopted the military actions in the Goa and other I think that there was some operation was launched there, Operation Vijay, I think, or something. I don't exactly remember that. And in Hyderabad there was Operation Polo, right? So, but here the question was specifically on the princely states. But was the Goa a princely state? What are the princely states? Princely states where the prince, or you can say that the earlier kings, then monarchy used to rule. And under the British, what you can say, British Union, they used to be called as the princely states. Now the question was specified to that, but it was one component of the consolidation process, right? So that type of question you have to prepare. The notes of this particular type question topic is very important. Prepare the notes so that any question is coming, you can write that, and especially these two. In post-independent history, if you are not covering other aspect, okay. But this topic, you should have the well-prepared notes. Consolidation and integration of India. Second is reorganization. In India, as you know, Andhra Pradesh is also a part of this product of this reorganization post-independence, right? Earlier, it was the part of which president, which state? Madras. Earlier, it was the part of Madras. Then there was demand for the Telugu state. Then Andhra Pradesh created, right? Similarly, other states like the Gujarat was created, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand. Many states came up. So, since 1947 till today, what is the recent reorganization in India? Most recent? Telangana in which year? 14. After that, no reorganization? Jammu and Kashmir. Earlier it used to be one state. Now there is two union territories, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. Is it a reorganization or not? It is, right? So the point is, reorganization has been the key characteristics of Indian Union. post-independence. The one of the basis is linguistic basis. But we have evolved from the linguistic basis also towards the developmental basis. The division of Chhattisgarh was not on the linguistic basis. It was more of development. Because the language in the Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh more or less Hindi only. Chhattisgarhi is there, but that's not the key factor. It was the development which led to the division of Chhattisgarh. Similarly, Jharkhand. Bihar and Jharkhand was not the language issue. It was the development. The mineral-rich region in the Jharkhand, however, in the Bihar there was but the most of the money used to go there as per the allegation. So they decided to have the different state called Jharkhand. However, here if you talk about the Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, again, is it a linguistic issue? No, right? It was not a linguistic issue. But in previously, when the reorganization happened in 1956, it was more a linguistic issue. So we have seen this evolution. So the question on the reorganization can also be seen. So two aspects. One is the consolidation and integration, and second, reorganization. These two aspects you should be very, you should have the notes on this. You should have the notes on this because directly mentioned in post-independence history. Now, what kind of question we observe is this, and the number of questions from the post-independence history is very less. In 2013, I think that question, see the third question, which year it was asked? 13 only. 2013, they asked 3 questions on the post-independence. Even that Bhutan movement is also 2013, right? So that question was also asked in 2013, but after that, the questions mostly around this too. So that is the pattern in the post-independence history. If you have less time, you can't prepare this whole post-independence history. You should cover this part. And second strategy I told, have the chronology of the major events. If you know the chronology, you can write any answer, right? Because you will be knowing the year, period. And rest of the major event we know, like the emergency, 1971 war, Kargil war, what happened during that point of time. So these things, major event, if you know, you can easily write. But I'm not asking you to just to go through this. You should have proper notes for this. At least 2-3 page notes for each topic, right? Because here you should not have this approach. If UPSC asks question, I will tackle it. No, here you should write very specific and very good answers so that you can fetch, if 10 marks, 7 marks, if 15 marks, you can get 10 marks. That should be your approach in this. Okay, so that is the thing, and the pattern of the questions are similar. What you see, same type of patterns are there. Mostly what they're asking is that the event, what are its significance or impact, and second is that what were the causes. So two type of the question types are two type of question they are asking. The type one is they are asking us about the causes of a particular event, or you can name it as evolution also. Basically same in all history question, you will find this trend. What led to this event? You can see the word is that what led to this event. This type of question. Whether it is Bhutan movement, whether it is 1971 war, once UPSC asked, they are asking what made India to take part in 1971 Bangladesh liberation war. Why it forced India to do that? Right? That's the first thing they are asking. Most of the questions. Okay. The second type of question they are asking is the impact, significance, or implication. Similar answer will be there. Implication of those event. If event happened, what was its significance or impact? This is the second type. If let's say example 1971 war happened, Bangladesh liberation war, what was its impact? What was its implication on India as well as the world? Like that question you can expect. Okay, so these are the two pattern of question on events. I'm not talking about the reorganization and the integration. There, we should not have the template. We should mug up. Why? Because specific question. If we have this, see, it's easy to have the templates. They asked about the administrative issues. Suppose if you are going for the organization, that part will come. But I am talking this template, this pattern. I am talking other than those questions, reorganization and integration. Other than that, if they ask any event, what they will ask in the post independence, they can ask any event, significant event, emergency. What were the causes? Why it happened? What was its impact? Right. So similarly, 1970 war, Kargil war, Tascan agreement, some major events. What were the causes? What were the implications? This is going to be the first pattern of the question. Okay. Now, to tackle this kind of question, what template we can adopt? Causes. See, in the history questions, we know the causes type of question. Whenever there is causes, we know. See, now you start dividing the post-independent history. Mostly you will see that there is the beginning of influence from outside in India. Earlier it was the Britishers who were ruling. The external interference was limited. We became part of the UN system, right? We became member of the United Nations. Now United Nations start interfering in India in terms of by saying the development. United States became superpower and they said like we will be taking care about all the world. So they started interfering in India. So now the causes in the post-independence, you will see that there are two type of influence or the cause started coming into the different affairs within India. It was not now only the internal factors, but also the external factors started impacting India. So how we are going to divide our answer now will be the internal causes or factors, and then the second would be external factors. You will observe this. Okay. So what happened is within this, then we have to divide the points. Internal factor, as we know, the most important thing is the political factor within India. How the politics change. The initial phase was the one-party system mostly. The Congress party was dominating. But later on, then the factionism started. We had the multiple party system. So how the politics was changing. As the more number of regional parties started coming. Earlier, in almost every state, there were Congress only. All states. So whatever central power used to say, they used to follow, more or less. There were definitely demands, but mostly the ideological coherence was there. But as the regional parties started evolving in Andhra Pradesh, in Madras, even in the southern, western, eastern areas, they started to impose their, what we say, their interest. And that's why you see that over the period, the demand for the separate state started increasing and acceptance by the center also started increasing because their force started. Now, regional states demanded, regional parties demanded, we should have our own state so that our party can dominate. Right? So the political factor definitely impacted the different events in India. So the regionalism started. Right? So regionalism also creates some problems. Okay? So that political issues, especially how the political changes started happening in India, impacted different event in the post-independence. Right? So that was one of the factors. If you see the Green Revolution also, Green Revolution mostly economic, but there are also the political aspects are there. Why the Punjab, Haryana was chosen? One of the reason was their ecology and the location. But also those regions were the politically stable and the dominated region. right? However, in the eastern and other region, northeastern, that much political development was not there. So my point here is that you can bring this political aspect in the different answers, right? So the political, how the political changes were happening, that can be brought in our answer. The second thing is that, second aspect, with the political, you have to bring this administrative. Here, most important factor is how the different administration system evolved, and the corruption was a major issue. Corruption, red tapeism, bureaucratic hurdles, they also created some form of resistance among the people, and that also created some issues in the post-independence. So that is the dimension. Here is the political party evolution and their demand changes. Those things were the reason. Third aspect comes the socio-cultural. As we know, India has a diverse country with a different religion, different caste, different issues, social issues, literacy issues. Those things are also the reasons. The political, administrative, socio-cultural, and fourth is the economic. Fifth is the security causes, mostly the internal security issues, riots, okay, some communal violence. Then there were some I think in Bihar or Uttar Pradesh, there was in one of the constabulary there was mutiny. Yesterday we discussed about mutiny, that some police officers revolted. So such issues also happened. If you will see the observe those things, the security issues like terrorism is also one of the security issue, right? In 1990s, Naxalism is a security issue, internal security issue. 1967 it started. So those factors also influence the post-independence. So that aspect you can bring. Terrorism. Then there was a large-scale scams, the Harsat Mehta scam 1990s. Right? So those aspects you have to think when you are writing about the post-independence, what were the security issues. So these 5 dimensions you can create in the internal factors. Then comes the external factors. Within the external factor, the first one is the border, neighbor, issues with the neighbors. Pakistan, China, we had the issue with the Sri Lanka also. So those issues we have to bring, how they influence. That external factor, that is the reason this wars we had fought different. Second issue is the United Nation influence. United Nation influence we have to bring, both positively as well as the negative. They complicated the process of Jammu and Kashmir integration with India. They supported Pakistan. Right? Third is Cold War. Cold War has influence on almost all countries, including India. What is Cold War? War between USSR and USA. Right? Basically, they are not fighting militarily, but they were trying to increase their ideological influence. Right? So India adopted which part? India joined which section? No. And so what India did? Yes. So India made non-alignment movement. Sometimes we have criticized US also. So that also created some issue. So if you observe the overall this post-independence, the factors are around this. Here, when you study post-independence, different events when you will study, try to think and imagine the causes from internal as well as the external. You will see the perspective, the dimension you will get, and the overall picture of the post-independence. Generally, what happens, students write is this, but they miss this part. This has also the influence. Today also, our policies have influence from the outside also. 1991 is a classic example when we had the economic reforms, LPG. IMF had the direct influence in our policies. They forced us to bring the reforms. Yes, we adopted by ourselves, but there was influence. They put the condition that if you will bring these reforms, then only we will support you financially. Was there outside influence, right? So the point is, this aspect we have to bring in the post-independent history questions, especially under this also, these three. Neighbor, you understood? UN influence, not directly but developmental influence, positive, as well as the Kashmir issue and other aspect. Then the Cold War, NAM. Okay, we follow the NAM, but the Cold War also, there was the dilemma between the USSR and US. Balancing was the difficult, and how USSR supported in 1971 war and US was supporting Pakistan. So it will depend on the type of question, but my point here is that thinking in that dimension. Now you guys are mature enough to get to the point in that dimension according to the question demand. That job you have to do. My point here is that overall, based on my understanding about the post-independence, by learning that book multiple times and by analyzing the previous year question, what I found is that these dimensions should be there in your answer of history, post-independence. Okay, that was the point. So causes done. Now let's move to the next part, that is the implications. Implications of any event which is happening. Implications. So again, the implications can also be divided into the different components, like the different implication. One is directly asked by the UPSC. UPSC itself is giving us dimension. One factor they gave, like administrative factor, socio-cultural. That dimension we took from the UPSC. That means think like UPSC also want us to think in those dimensions. Sometimes they are directly giving us dimensions, but if they directly ask like, what were the issues in the integration of princely states post-independence? Now, what do you think UPSC will expect from you? Won't they expect you write the administrative issue, socio-cultural issue? Right? If they gave vaguely and you're writing like the vaguely any dimension. Now, both are right. Nothing is wrong. But which will impress the examiner and which will impress the UPSC more? The dimension which is having this administrative, political, socio-cultural, this, right? And if they impress, they will give more marks, right? It's not about, see, I say this in the UPSC answer writing, it's not about right and wrong. It's about how well you are presenting the same point. If they ask what are the causes of low productivity in agriculture, everyone knows that. Who is going for the mains, everyone knows that. Now, who will get 7 mark and who will get 4 mark will depend on how well and how multidimensional way one student have presented and how the other student have presented. That will create the difference. One is getting 80 marks and another is getting 120 marks. Right? It's not the knowledge only, because both have cleared the prelims. Both have, I won't say the equal knowledge, but basic knowledge at least to write that such questions. Right? So the presentation matters, structuring matters, dimensionality matters, and prioritization of the points matter. One is writing why the causes of there is low productivity in agriculture. One is writing it is because the low skill in farmer. Another person is writing low technological adoption. Now, if you think like low technological adoption, if you are writing and one is criticizing the farmers for low skill and one is saying that the technology is less. Now both, if you will compare, the technological point seems more relevant here. I'm not saying both one is wrong, but which point you are prioritizing? So when we write case study, right? So there we have to mention the stakeholders, ethical issues. So stakeholder wise, we identify the ethical issues. Now, suppose one issue is there where there is flood. There are floods in a district, and you as a district collector have to prioritize. I mean, say that there are children, women, and the many stakeholders are there. Now you have to identify the ethical issues. There you can talk about the ethical issues of the infrastructural laws, ethical issue related to the livelihood laws, anything you can write. But there, which point you are writing first will determine how you think. Suppose you are prioritizing there the most vulnerable section, especially challenged people, women, children. If you're prioritizing their ethical issue first and the other ethical issues later, that shows that you have this approach of Antyodaya se Sarvodaya. That means you're thinking about the most marginalized people first. That shows your empathy. That shows your compassion towards the vulnerable section. Do you think it is a requirement in a civil servant or not? Yes, right. So do the UPSC only checking your knowledge, or also they want the people who are having this head as well as the heart? Not only they don't just want the people with head having the huge knowledge, huge intellectual character. No, they want the people who can go to the grassroots and work with them. So they are also checking these ethical traits. And how you represent that? You represent that by how you think, which you prioritize. Do you prioritize like the having the big industry, or you are prioritizing also about the farmers' welfare? Right. So that will show your priority. No? So prioritize your point based on your thinking. Right. So that's why I say that I emphasize on the prioritization of the point, which is the most important. Case study, when we'll do this ethics fall apart, then they understand which ethical issue you are prioritizing, which stakeholder you are prioritizing. That will be the different part. But my point here is, here also when we write, we have to think about which is the most relevant according to the question. That part we start developing. Okay. Now implication also will be similar. Like the here also, if any event happened, there will always will be certain issues. If the issue is related to the security, we should prioritize the security. National security is the topmost priority. Topmost, beyond political also. Why? You see the condition of Ukraine. You see the condition of Israel, this Palestine. Despite the culture, political system, and the economic development, currently doesn't even matter there. What matters is have they able to secure their country or not? What you will do with this all technology and everything if you are not securing your border? And that's why investment in the security has become one of the top priority right now, especially after this thing happening. Now Ukraine is being supported from back channel by Europe, but nobody came to support directly to the Ukraine, despite from the European Union, right? So tomorrow we can't expect that the Russia or some other country will come to protect if we have the war with Pakistan or China. So we have to be secured. That's the first priority. So that prioritization, so to the UPSC, that I consider, it will depend on the question type, but security as the major and the top priority for me. How you will tell the UPSC? By writing the point. Here, if you're writing about the political issue, economic issue, yes, I'm not saying those are not important, but it's also always about the priority also, which you are prioritizing. So implication, what are the security implication? It depends on the point. Here also you divide about the internal security as well as the external security. If you have covered this topic, you know the difference. And don't limit with the war and these things. Bring the terrorism, money laundering, as well as your left wing extremism, and this will come as the war and the external factor. Then you can talk about the political implications, how it impact the federalism, how it impact our democracy. These aspects we can bring. Third would be, what is its economic implication? Right? Impact on our economic Implication, you know the how to create the dimension for economic, that different sectors of economy you can bring. Financial system, our monetary policy, fiscal policy, debt burdens, these all you can bring in the economic. Then comes the socio-cultural, especially here communal issues is always a issue in India. Communal issue, caste issue, gender issue, these issues you have to bring. The implication, how it implication. One aspect you have to bring here is the environment. It again depends on the type of question, but what are the environmental issue, especially if the question is post this 1990s, the climate change, pollution became a major issue in India. So implication, if any event is happening, how it is implication on environment. Suppose the question is a green revolution, so you have to bring this environmental impact we are seeing today, right? Socio-cultural, it created the differences among the farmers, rich farmers, poor farmers, right? Green revolution. Economic, yes, prosperity came. Social poverty reduction and the food security came, positive, negative, both. And then the political, you know the political issues, like the Punjab farmers created the political party after that protest. Then security issue, that cannot be directly linked with the green revolution. So again, I told that will depend on the type of question. But these aspects we need to think when we are writing about the. One more is the external implication, that is the foreign policy. Some issues have the implication on foreign policy also. For example, this Tamil issue happened in 2002, 2008 and others. We have direct implication with Sri Lanka, right? Tamilian issue, and then this Teesta water agreement, have the issue with Bangladesh, West Bengal, Bangladesh, right? So some events like we reorganized the Jammu and Kashmir. So Pakistan have some issues, right? UN also raised some issue. If we are Northeast development, something happened, then the China has the issue there. So we need to tackle that also. In yesterday class, I was, I think in the orientation class, I was talking about why there is need to think about all dimension. Why we should write in the dimension. Why we can't write in one or two dimension only. It is because it is expected from a civil servant to think from the multi-dimension. Suppose the officer is working in northeastern region and they are constructing any infrastructure project. They can't just think from the economic dimension. They have to think how that project is going to impact the ethnicity, culture of the tribals there, how it is going to impact the environment of that northeastern region, how and what implication it will bring with the relation with the China, Myanmar. So it's the officer cannot just think, okay, infrastructure development, it will bring the economic prosperity in the region. He or she has to balance with the other aspect. Can't just ignore that aspect. You know, well, one example I'll give you. When I was working in Bastar, there was one collector. He started one project called Swet Bastar. Swet Bastar. Swet Bastar. Swet means, you know, Swet means white in Hindi. Swet means white. Safed in Hindi. So Swet Bastar means like a white Bastar. Now, can you understand the theme of this project? Yes. White revolution, have you heard? It is related to milk production. So the district collector wanted to develop the Bastar. You know Bastar? It's a district in southern Chhattisgarh. It's unpopular because of the Naxalbad, and that is the left-wing extremism. Now, so there he wanted to make the tribal, I mean that region, as a hub of milk production, processing, and the value addition. These all things. That's a very ambitious project, and he mobilized the TMF and other funds which were available in the district to develop the cattle sheds. First, cattle seed, infrastructure, the fodder, everything was developed. Second was that the farmers were trained. Third, farmers were given the advanced breeds of the cows, cattle, so that they can get the more milk. However, that project failed. One of the major reason of failure was that The culture in the Buster tribals is not adaptable to the milk from the cow. The farmers there, the people, tribals there, they don't know how to extract milk from the cow because they have not done that. Why not done that? Because in their custom, tradition, and culture, their cultural ethos says that the rights over the milk of cow is only to the child of that cow. We cannot take that milk for our consumption or our economic benefit. Now, this is the part of the culture, and you know the tribals have the huge affinity towards their culture. Now, it's like I am drinking milk of some other's mother. For them, there is no difference between human and the nature. They worship the human as God, goddess, and nature as human. Right? So they are not considering that the cow is non-human. They are considering as equally sacred as another living being. That's the custom and the kind of relation they have with the nature. Right? So before cutting a tree, they worship the tree. They take permission, They worship the tree that we need you for our survival, for our need. Can we take that? They take permission. Literally, I have seen that. Then only they fell the tree. So that kind of relation that is there, and if you are going with a huge ambition to develop those regions and you're not considering the socio-cultural aspect, your project will fail. Because people want to own it. And while you are doing that, if you know that socio-cultural aspect, your project will be people-centric. You're getting the impact. Now, crores of rupees wasted. See how important it is. And we say that the economic infrastructure, that's not enough. And I'm telling you the very practical issue which I have observed. Okay, many times these kind of thing leads to the failure, this project's failure, because of this lack of consideration of the people, how they perceive, what is their culture, customs, and these things. And that's why we have this PESA Act 1996, which recognizes these things. But the understanding about the PESA is very limited at the grassroots, as well as at the different level of governance, limited. Okay, so that is the point I'm trying to tell, not just like the template, but why you should think about these dimensions. Okay, so that is the reason. You understood this? Lastly, about the reorganization. What dimension you can create? First is the integration. Here I won't spend more time. I'll directly show the answer. Integration. See, one thing is that just understand the evolution, or what we can say that the chronology here. Chronology of integration. That means it was not like the one-time event. It was over the period when the different states were integrated into India. So it took that understand that chronology, very important. The second is that you have to know the issues from multidimensional aspect, issues in the integration. Third aspect you need to know is that what were the major factors which created the complicated issues in integration. Similar factors which complicated integration. These two are similar, but they can change the language of the question. These two are similar. Issues in integration are factors which complicated the process of integration. Now, here also you need to know role of different personalities in integration. Okay, especially Sardar Patel, VP Menon, Very important name. You should remember. Then you need to know the implications of integration. Implication, long-term, short-term implication, both. Still, the one of the reason why northeastern region, especially Manipur, having some issues, one of the reason they say is the incomplete process or the lack of they did not took the assent from the legislative assembly. The assent was taken from the king. So my point here is that there were some loopholes or some flaws we made during the process of integration, which created some implication which is still existing. For example, Jammu and Kashmir also. We took the Jammu and Kashmir issue to the UN and complicated the issue instead of solving it bilaterally. So the point is the process of integration was also created some positive as well as some issues which still persisting, like Jammu and Kashmir, Manipur. Right? That is there. So this is the implication you have to bring in this process. Now, this is about the integration. Similarly, for reorganization also, you need to know different reorganization happened. Then the what issues arises. The thing in the reorganization, one thing they ask, especially this linguistic reorganization, first they ask is remember this chronology again. Second, this first thing. Second, you have to know what were the need of reorganization. Need of reorganization. Political need, social need, and those aspects. Then they will ask you to critically examine the impact of reorganization. Examine impact of positive impact, negative impact. Did it achieve this objective or not? Need means it's objective. Fourth is need of new states in present time. There is some demand, for example, Purvanchal, Mithila state, some new states demands are there. Okay, so like there Bodoland is there. There is some other states in Saurashtra. Some demands are there. So they can ask, do you think there is a need to create more new state in the present time? That aspect don't miss. And lastly, see different committees and commissions formed on this reorganization. JBP committee, SA committee, Fazal Ali committee. What was the committee name on the recommendation of which the Telangana state was created? No, Fazal, Telangana. Fazal was in 1956, 1955, 2014. You should know this. Justice Jeevan Reddy. Justice Jeevan Reddy. Read about this. You should know this. It is important for APPSC and TGPSC also. That committee name. Anyhow, you will cover these committees within this. I am asking you to specifically prepare notes here. I don't want to give the templates here. Okay, because this is very important and specific question. Understood?